Okay guys, so today we're going to do a brake job on a 2010 Acura TSX. This is just the 4-cylinder, not the 6. And it's a pretty straightforward job. The rotors are going to be replaced, brakes are going to be replaced. I thought I'd make a video on it, see what you guys, if you guys need any help with this, you always refer to this video. So first things first, we're going to go over what you're going to need. Impact sockets, but generally just one to get the wheel off. In this case, it's going to be a 19mm. Good pair of gloves, always good to have, unless you want to get your hands dirty. Or, some people prefer the feel of being able to touch things directly. So anyways, also a good socket set. In this case, I'm using a 1/2-inch drive set, and it makes it easier to do this when you're replacing the rotors because the bolts on the back are sometimes hard to get off. So if you have an impact gun, that'd be great, but if you have a battery powered one, even better, because these things are great. You could also just do it by just hand powered if you wanted to. And if you're doing it by hand, I suggest finding a fulcrum. Believe it or not, this is a handy dandy tool that was a piece of a barbecue. I was throwing a barbecue out and it was like, wow, that's like the perfect size and opening for using as a fulcrum. So it's actually worked really well. So I always carry it around with me just in case I need a bolt that needs to be broken out. Next tool, this is collapse the piston on the caliper. You get these for like $10. Any auto parts store will carry them. Sorry if there's background noise. A lot of people driving around. Brake cleaner. I have two types. CRC is usually one I use, but I had this laying around and I think it was on sale, but stuff sucks. Sorry. Some Loctite. This is blue Loctite. I use this when I put the bolts back onto the retainer that holds the caliper assembly in place, and that's mainly because it gets a lot of vibration and you don't want it coming loose. And then to silence everything and grease the pins and everything, just use regular old grease. I've used all the fancy stuff, but this has actually worked the best. It doesn't come off, it stays on there. And if you have an old rag, use an old rag versus a new rag, because you're going to be throwing it out after you're done with this anyway, so an old dirty rag will be just fine. Lastly, brakes. In this case, I got the AutoZone Duralast Gold. I use their C-Max, but their C-Max has a tendency of tearing rotors up. Even the fancy ones, I bought their newest version of them because they have a 3-year warranty and it's not that much more expensive. And they put a nice black zinc coating on it, which I always prefer the zinc coatings. So they have a good warranty system. I noticed that it's not all greased up, which is a good sign. That means that they're not afraid of it corroding. Usually when you get rotors, they're covered in grease because they're already going to start rusting on the way over. So the fact that this is not packed in grease is a good sign that the coating that they put on it is actually quite durable. So with that, I think it's time for us to get started. So we'll start with just taking this wheel off, put the gloves on. I got extra large gloves for a reason. They're still god awful tight. I go to Harbor Freight to get these, and they used to have a different manufacturer carrying them. And anyone who's shopped at Harbor Freight knows they're constantly switching manufacturers. And this manufacturer, the gloves aren't bad, the sizing is completely different. So, whatever. By the way, this is a rigid impact. I've been using it for a few years now. It's excellent. Actually, not even years, maybe a year. I think it just came out a year ago. But it's excellent. It has lights in the front, which is really cool. And it doesn't use that much battery power, and it does do what it says it's supposed to, so that's what I use now. Okay, the first thing you want to do anytime you're doing any kind of wheel work, look at your tires. In this case, it's not my car, but I noticed this right off the bat. They're worn down to the tread bar, and there's obviously a little bit of an issue with. It almost looks like it's feather in the edge, but it's cracked at the same time. Tires are worn down completely, and I looked at the back tires and they're full of tread. So, go figure. Somebody wasn't rotating their tires, but always good to take a look now and see if you have any nails or anything in your tires, and you can go ahead and take care of that now. The next trick I kind of use too is when you're working on cars, there's always a danger that your car is going to fall on you or anything. You can take all the precautions in the world and stuff can just go wrong. So one of the things I like to do is when I take a wheel off, I stick it under the car. So if this thing falls down, it's going to fall on that wheel. Much rather have it fall on the wheel than fall on you. So that's it. I mean, these brakes were making a lot of noise, and if you can, I'll get a closer camera angle, but they're flaking the ends, which means that they got really hot. So that's always a bad sign. It's usually just cheaper to just replace the whole damn thing than it is to have them recut, because even if you have them cut, you have to wait a few hours. Most auto stores now and shops will do kind of a crappy job. The last couple of ones that I did were just god awful, and when I took them back, they didn't want to do it. So it's something to keep in mind. So we'll go ahead and get a closer camera angle here, and we'll go ahead and start taking this apart. Okay, one last tool I forgot to tell you guys you're going to need is an impact screwdriver. You can usually get these for $10 or $15. They're not expensive. And what they're basically going to do is knock these little screws loose that are retaining the rotor on here. Sometimes these are a little fidgety to use because you can't tell which way is which, but you can usually, once you start hitting it, you'll figure it out. In this case, I'm going to use a 3-pound mallet. Be very careful not to strip these out because it'll be much more difficult to get them out if that happens. That one went. So if they start to give you a hassle, you want to kind of turn it as it hits, and that'll usually do it. You're supposed to just be able to hit it, but like I said, you hit it and you just turn it a little bit, that'll usually crack them loose. Generally, most places are not going to give you another pair of these to use, so I mean another new set of screws. You usually have to buy them separately. So we'll take those out, set them to the side. Mainly what they're doing is this is a floating assembly, what they like to call a floating assembly, and what's happening is the pads are actually floating over the rotor, and if the rotor is moving around at all, it kind of reduces their effectiveness because it's creating more friction here at the pad and creating more heat. So by having those screws in there, kind of locks down the rotor so that it can't walk around on you. So first steps first, we're going to go ahead and remove the caliper assembly, and to do that there's 2 bolts in the back here, one on this side, one on this side. Sometimes you can just take these straight off and no problem, but sometimes you're going to need a open-end wrench on this side to grab the inside to hold it in place while you're turning the outside down. These are usually 14mm, and that's what it is. Like I said, this is when the 1/2-inch ratchet comes in the is a good thing to have because it gives you a lot more leverage. Alright, see, so this is turning both, so that's not good. So I'll try the bottom one and see if that. Sometimes you get lucky and it'll just go. Wow, if somebody tightened these on here, they weren't messing around. Okay, so let's go find an open wrench to put on there. Generally everything here is going to be metric, but in this case 3/4 inch fits on there pretty good. So let's figure out how we're going to do this because they're not usually this tight. Let's see if that did it. Yeah, usually you just have to get it past that initial break and then it'll just pop out. So these are just bolts at the end. The slides are actually built into here. So we'll take that first one off. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get this bottom one. I've never really seen them that tight before on a new set of brakes that have never been done. Those are pretty damn tight. But then again, like I said, these brakes have been getting overheated on a regular basis, so that could be part of the problem. Anyways, the bolt looks in good condition. Now we just go ahead and take this and just walk it off. Now we'll just set it up here. There's a flexible line on here where the brake fluid comes in, so you can kind of just set it there, It's flexible, so you're not going to hurt it. Because these are definitely very, very smooth. You can see the gloss. They shouldn't look like that. They should look a little more dull. The same thing with the rotor. It has like a glass-like finish, which is not what it should have. It creates no friction. It just creates heat because it loses its braking ability. So, anyways, like I said, bolt right there. Bolt right there. It should be 17 millimeters. These are the ones that you're going to put Loctite on when you're done. Also, you want to take a look around here. Make sure your axle boot's in good condition. In this case, it is. This car has 60,000 miles, so it's not too high on mileage right now. Now, these ones should be the hard ones to take off. So in this case, I'm going to pull out my fulcrum. And this is going to be a little awkward working around the camera, so I apologize. Actually, believe it or not, those are easier to get off than the other ones. That's not supposed to be like that. These are the ones that should be a pain. Those actually came off very, very easily. So I'll break those loose. Go ahead and remove them. The slides, they're in decent condition. We'll take them off anyways. Sometimes they don't pull from both sides. Take that off, slide that out. You can see it's not in bad condition. If this was burnt or the metal looked like it was overheated, then we have more of a problem, but this is not bad. So we'll take this off and just clean it and re-grease it. Because what that's doing is it's allowing these to move smoothly, the pads in and out, because it's supposed to keep the pads from dragging on the rotors. But they don't feel bad. You just need to clean them and put them back together. Now we can actually go ahead and just slide the rotor off. Make sure your caliper is out of the way. Just slide that off. So we'll take a look here. Same thing. It just looks like these things got molten hot. They don't feel like they're very glossy, and they're not supposed to be, because it means it's not creating any friction. That shouldn't have like a mirror-like finish on it. Now, could I just cut the rotors and put this all back together? Probably, but will I? Because if I do and it just creates the same problem again, we're back in the same boat. So let's do what I like to call a one and done with this. You put a good set of pads and a good set of rotors on here, and it's going to last a long time. And it's under warranty. Versus you clean it up and everything, put it back together, it's not under warranty. You'll end up just having to spend the money again anyways. One and done is the way I like to see it. I like to use the old box here for the new rotor to catch all my dust and stuff coming off the brakes here. Everything seems like it's in good condition. So now we'll take our new rotor, take it out of its packaging. First thing we want to do is go ahead and spray it down real quick. Takes off any debris that are on there. And then we just want to match up the holes so that we can put the screws back in. If you ever asked yourself what these other two holes are for, there's another set of holes. That's if you had a 10 millimeter, I think it's a 1032 thread bolts. You can put it in there if this gets lodged on there, and it'll push it away like a press. So we'll go ahead and drive that in there. Like I said, this is why you don't want to strip these out. Usually you can get a new set of these at AutoZone, but if you don't damage them, you can reuse them. So our next part here is going to be for me to go ahead and clean this up real quick and grease the slides. We'll just put a little bit onto each one of our bolts here that are going to retain the caliper. Just like that. And you'll see it'll just drip around. You can spread it around if you want. So we'll take that assembly, slide it back into place, line it up. I think all said and done, brand new rotors and everything, I think it was $150 to $160. And includes shipping. I don't usually order them online, but in this case I did online because they're a lot cheaper to get it from our own website than from the store. It's kind of sad. Alright, so one pad has a wear indicator and the other one doesn't, so make sure you use one of each on each side. And this should be the back one, I believe. Yes. This can't be the, yeah. This is going to be the back one. So same thing. We're going to go ahead and grease it. And just spread grease over the entire back of it. What this is going to do is it's going to allow the caliper to stick a little bit to the pad. Keep dust out of it, not squeal. You don't want to use too much, just enough to get a good coating on there. So that's all done. So you just going to take your pad and just slide it on there. Alright, so our next step here is going to be to flip the caliper assembly around and collapse that piston using our tool, our handy-dandy tool. Wipe the inside off a little bit, just make sure it's pretty clean. Doesn't have to be perfect. And where did my tool go? There's, whoa. Yeah, my tool is starting to die, slow death. I've had this for years. Remember to grease this on the threads. It'll make this thing work a lot longer. But it's still, I think this thing's like 15 years old now. So I'll let it work as long as it will. But one day it will need to be replaced. So as I'm using the old pad press on here, it's putting leverage here against the outside of the caliper, and it's going to collapse that piston. You want to do this slowly, not ever quickly. Because what will sometimes happen is an air pocket will build up here right behind the rubber gasket here. So just take your time, do it slow. I usually only bleed the brakes too when I see that the fluid's dirty. In this case, the fluid looks like brand new, so I'm not really worried about bleeding it. Also, if you have any brake issues, you'll notice it pretty fast. But for the most part, not generally needed on newer cars. Okay, so that's that. So we'll flip it back around. Should just slide on there. Make sure to push the slides back so that it can go over. Come on, baby. Okay. Trying to get your glove pinched in there, and then that should just all go back together. Now these bolts don't put Loctite on. These ones aren't under as much stress as the other ones. Just, they should be fine. We're going to do the same thing where we're going to have to tighten them, but we'll need to use 2 wrenches to do it. am I lined up? I can't see where I'm at. Sorry. Bring my face in here again. There we go. Yeah, it keeps feeling like it's there, but it's not. There it goes. You'll feel as soon as they bite when they grab. Okay. Next step, swap out this 17 for 14. We'll see how far it'll tighten just on its own. Looks like it's actually pretty good. Didn't turn. Well, that's good news. That one is turning. Well, got away with one, but not both. Once again, this camera's getting red in my way. Sorry. Okay, that'll do it. Just double check the top. Ain't going nowhere. That's it. It's done. So I'll go ahead and go to the other side and do basically exactly the same thing. Because I've been touching and feeling around here, you also want to go ahead and spray this off again before you finish. So your assembly is nice and clean. So this is what we look like all done and set up. And if you have any questions, ask below, as usual. When we're done on the other side, we'll go ahead and pump the brakes, and that'll reseat the pistons. And you take it for a drive. What you want to do is take it about 30 miles an hour, then come to a straight, smooth stop. Do that a few times. That should line up your pads. They're going to smell, possibly, at the beginning, because it's going to burn off excess grease. And possibly this black material is going to start to cut off a little bit. But anyways, it's easy as that, though. Have a good day.